And welcome yet another episode of It's Me Speaking to You, ladies and gentlemen. I am, as always, your ever faithful host, Mr. Jeffrey Wilson, coming to you live and direct from the Gateway to the West. And tonight, boy oh boy, he is the Tomax to my Zaymont, ladies and gentlemen. I met this gentleman so many years ago. He is the Vice President of Digital Entertainment at Coolfire Studios. Is among many other things, a very, very fantastic human being who also loves professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jeremy Corray to the program. How are you doing, sir?
My goodness, I thought you were going to say, like, I'm your Doug Basham to, the other Basham brother. I don't know. There's so many analogies we can make here.
You are my Matt Hardy to my Jeff Hardy. How about that? We will get into that.
That's in the broken universe.
Yes, we will get into that.
We'll get sued by Anthem if we talk about it too much.
Right, exactly. Because we're both WrestleMania, not just WrestleMania geeks. We will talk about WrestleMania as well as wrestling in general. But, bro, I mean, I met you so many moons ago. You obviously were well established, fairly talented talent here in St. Louis. And when we worked for a certain company and I was a production assistant, we chopped it up. And I heard you mention certain phrases like Tomax, Zaymont, Brave Star, things I just hadn't heard in a really long time. And come to find out, you had associations and ties to Voltron. Tell me, sir, let's just rewind. How did you get into the acting business, which wound up going into the production business and what you do now? Give us a little encapsulation on how you got started into things.
Well, they do all kind of lead to one another, as the acting did lead to an opportunity to work with my favorite cartoon of all time, and one of the greatest of all time, Voltron, Defender of the Universe. And for you young bloods out there who don't know what that is, that was a Sentai show, kind of like Power Rangers, but better. And it blew kids' minds in 1984 when you'd watch these robotic lions come together and form the Defender of the Universe. And Jeff, I don't know about you, but man, I was eating that stuff up on KPLR. After school, Channel 11, and then going out and getting on the bike as Black Lion, putting in the keys. Did you watch Voltron growing up, Jeff?
I did. I mean, I was even into the precursors to that. The Johnny Sacco, the Spectrum-Man, the Ultraman, sure. Even, Power Rangers, that the precursor to that was this thing called Dynaman, which is another Japanese show that used to appear on this USA network called Night Flight. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're
sir.
going into Night Flight. Night Flight was like the weird internet before the weird internet.
Yeah, dude.
Right? They show like Fantastic Planet and like
yes.
all this, just such trippy stuff. Yeah, that Ozzy Osbourne interview on Night Flight. I can't believe you just pulled out Night Flight. The kids don't understand.
No, they don't.
Finding, Dr. Demento on a weird, transmission on an AM. You had to find this stuff, and when you found it, it was treasured and kind of passed along. You had to know someone at like a convention who knew. That was your Wikipedia. It was just like somebody who knew a lot.
The trading of the cassette tapes.
Book on something.
Yeah.
Yes. Trading that stuff. So anyway, yeah, the Voltron opportunity. I went in for an audition at Koppler Communications, which had sold the TV station, and he had
which hosted back in the day. Yeah. Wrestling at the Chase.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yes, absolutely, really important to St. Louis wrestling history. And you could hear, my former boss Ted Koppler talk about, just the stories. And actually, Bruce Pritchard on his show, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson, I think they were talking about, they had partnered with somebody on a kickboxing pilot show with Chuck Norris, and I'm pretty sure that was Ted Koppler, because he was always talking about some show he did with Vince McMahon back in the day, some kickboxing show, and somebody got knocked out and it was live and they had to stall. So he tells these great stories. And I think it was Vince McMahon, because one day I was in the office and he goes to his assistant, hey, Jamie, why don't you get Vince McMahon on the phone? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, we're just going to start talking to Vince McMahon?
Right.
VKM? No way. And we're going to start pitching him this Vail Technology stuff. And something we couldn't get a hold of him, but we got popped to an assistant. And I'll never forget being on, driving to the airport, flying, a million miles a minute, almost missing a flight with Ted's son Bob, who I work closely with. And we're just pitching the WWE on these interactive bobbleheads. And I think it was the night after Shelton Benjamin took a 50-foot dive off a ladder. I was just clearly the fanboy that wanted to talk about, give that guy a promotion or something. So yeah, it all kind of intertwines. I used to tell Ted, I'm a product of KPLR, his programming, from Voltron to, Superstars of Wrestling and all these Wrestling at the Chase and things like that, and Three Stooges. marathons for those growing up. And, there's always these legends of like Benny Hill, and, there was like some pretty explicit stuff. I remember like when Howard Stern was on like super late at night on like broadcast television and things. He's just kind of urban legends of that. And I think it's all kind of coming back in a weird way, Jeff. I don't know if you have like antenna up on your TV. We've cut the cable here, being a digital forefront here. We just completely cut the cable, go off Apple TV. But it's really fascinating to put up those antennas and see, the things like Grit TV and, Bounce and things like that. And just the lack of choice kind of makes you appreciate how it used to be when there were only a handful of channels.
It's so funny you say that, because my father is in town, as he is a retired kind of traveler of the country, as he when
Nice.
It's cold here he goes here there, but yeah, he they are everywhere. The bounces for the last few days while he's been here, I've been just seeing nothing but Bonanza, Good Times, the Jeffersons, you know what I mean, you name it, 5 days in a row you have Haas and the whole crew. I mean, it is very interesting. It truly is a kind of throwback situation, because you're, like you said, you're old enough to lament it and remember when TV was so much different, man. It's
Yeah, the whole experience, and just, going and renting movies and VCRs, and just,
Yes.
I remember the first movie my parents let me rent. I mean, I had to be my son's age, about 8 or something, getting Commando or something like that, or on Betamax and stuff. It's just like, I don't know.
Betamax, Laserdisc.
Yeah, working with these younger kids, they ask, like, what's it like to grow up during Stranger Things? And it's like, yes, it was just like Stranger Things. There were monsters everywhere. They were offing us. We were having fantastic adventures on bicycles. But there was a lot of that.
Were you a fan of the Stranger Things? That was one thing I went up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Anybody, and any filmmaker's like, oh, that's the one, right, that really kind of captured it all, and just in a blender. It was like the ultimate remix tape or something.
It totally was. It hit on all
James
cylinders.
Cameron, yeah. Yeah, so really, I mean, during the Super Bowl, like, that was the thing I popped the most for, as far as just, any of the trailers and things. It's just Netflix. I mean, mark my words. I mean, just Hollywood here, there's so much debate about, the time a movie is in theaters, and should they shorten that up? And while they're over there arguing all about all that, Netflix is killing it. Do you see the Will Smith movie that's coming out in December?
Yeah.
It's like his huge blockbuster coming out, like David Goyer. They've got a Brad Pitt movie. Like, it's event viewing. Like
Dave Chappelle, these comedy series.
Yes, the stand-up special. It was like Friday night, appointment viewing. Yes. I can't wait to get home and watch that. Like, they're going to eat Hollywood's lunch if they don't just flip the switch and say, okay, $30, you can watch Beauty and the Beast. And we would do it in a heartbeat. Would you? I mean, like
no.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's totally
like with young kids. It's so hard.
That totally like kind of leads me into like the next question, or the next. The medium has changed so much, and it literally it's so fluid. It changes all the time. And now what we're seeing now is these online. The online market is like, TV's not dead, but it's dying. It's in the throes of dying. What are your thoughts on the evolution of this market? New, as an actor, voiceover guy, new media. What are your thoughts, and where is it going? Is TV going to just fall by the wayside?
Well,
the content right now, as we see it, is all catered toward online stuff.
Yeah, and I just feel like, the death of TV is a little premature to say. It just changes. If you ask my 5-year-old what TV is, she'll point to my phone. So TV has like never been better. I think it's just the model and the packaging and how it's delivered. It's never been a better time to be a consumer. So you're just seeing, YouTube offering a skinny bundle, as they call it in the biz, where you have these selective channels. So I think ultimately, the consumer's winning. The content has never been better, more selective, and more, I've got an exercise bike now that I hit 40 down here in the basement, and that's my way of just tricking my body, is just like, all right, if I'm going to watch this stuff, if I'm going to watch junk or anything, if I'm going to put in Westworld, I'm just going to like bike the entire time, like something out of Black Mirror, or something. So I don't know. I think it's all premature. People said the same stuff about radio. They said it was going away, and it just sort of a new normal develops out of it. And then look at us right now and podcasting. So I just think it does evolve, but definitely the model, something has to change, something has to give. But we're also seeing, starts and stops. When I started at Coolfire, in 2013, the big hot buzzwords were all the MCNs, the multi-channel networks, and studios like Maker and, Awesomeness TV and things. And now we're kind of in this post MCM environment where, you know, that model couldn't quite work, where you had all these YouTubers and everybody's doing the ad read share and kind of the PewDiePie and things. I mean, it worked on a lot of levels as far as, you know, for the creators but, you know, a lot of brands are asking themselves, like, what am I getting when I use an influencer and stuff? But that starts getting into to deep stuff here, right? And we're here to talk about the meat ballet, fake wrestling, and Voltron. And
but no, I mean, honestly,
these sound like work.
Yeah, no, not absolutely. I mean, yeah, the lingo gets a little not convoluted, but you mean kind of it's changing so fast. Like you do have to be hip to the changing mediums, which are so fluid. And for yourself, the vice president of digital entertainment at something like Coolfire, you guys produce not just online stuff. You guys are like reality TV. You guys produce Sweetie Pies, if I remember correctly. Talk to me about what you do over at Coolfire Studios.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you're hitting on all the right cylinders. I know, my boss David Johnson's been on your show and whatnot. My partner Dad Strong.
Woot, woot.
That's right. Everybody check out Dad Strong on Facebook.
Yes.
It's a little side project we have where we drop dad-approved videos, everything from rake hands to Girl Scout cookies. As you know, DJ is a lyrical genius. He can
his fan of old school hip hop, dude. I love his fandom of old school hip hop. The guy's no joke.
Yes. Well, we got a new one. I'm here to exclusively announce here.
Oh,
it's me speaking to you. That we've got a little Mother's Day thing that he's cooking up, and I've heard the initial track. It's definitely a throwback, but in a different flavor, and I think moms are going to go gaga for it. I anticipate a lot of shares, so if we can put that together. So there's a little bit of exclusive on Dad Strong. There's a Mother's Day project in the works, but absolutely Coolfire. We sometimes stand back and say, wow, when Jeff King started this place in 2002, 2003, I don't think he ever would imagine that he'd be doing cable TV series for Discovery Channel, HGTV, commercials, for Toyota and all kinds of motor. I mean, just so many brands and just partners and agencies.
Shooting out at Skywalker Ranch, if I remember correctly, David Johnson.
Well, we're shooting on the moons of Endor and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know how much of that has been released or whatnot, so I don't know how much I can talk about some of this stuff. But yeah, totally awesome to be shooting all over the country. And then on the digital front, still producing shows for Build-A-Bear. Brought my love of toys and just children's entertainment over, and plus that stuff performs really well on YouTube, but also doing stuff for big boy brands like Microsoft and Emerson. So we're constantly looking too and saying, where is the opportunity? As video continues to grow, as video continues as a medium, as we all know from our Facebook pages and things like that, but doing it right is another thing. So the marketplace seems to be slowly kind of shifting back and forth, but we'll just be jumping ahead of it each time. So we're having a blast. My team is strong over there, and but we're also reflective enough to say, okay, where's the puck gonna be, not where it's at right now. So it's fun. We're having some fun, but I also want to make time for some side projects like you alluded to, and get back to the filmmaking front. So I don't have a lot of time to do much acting and stuff these days, but
of course
that's
not,
okay. I like giving opportunities to other actors and such, and being on the producing front. So it feels good to kind of give back and keep particularly Midwest actors busy.
Well, that's a tough thing to do these days, but that's that's very cool that you do that. You know what I mean? It's all part of the evolution of things. You don't want to stay necessarily in the same lane for too long. And I can't believe it. I mean, you guys. When did I move here? 2005. And I've worked with Coolfire a few times, like back in the day in a PA capacity. I've done voiceover work with Brent in the studio there. And literally to see, along with what I'm talking about, the technology and everything, the growth and development of particularly Coolfire has just gone hand in hand with that. And for me, it's really, really cool to see, because you guys you're doing a little bit of everything, and the evolution has been awesome. And you guys are quite frankly on the forefront of a lot of stuff. Where do you, long-term end game for you guys? Where do you, where do you see yourself here in a few years?
Man,
hard to anticipate.
It very much is, right? Yeah, doing virtual reality 360 stuff. I don't, if you'd ask Jeff, it's telling stories at the end of the day, and just that's been going around since the cavemen and the campfire type thing. So as long as we stay true to that core and finding characters and things like that, I think we'd all love to just be working on shows that are nationally recognized, big hits, and showing that you can produce. And I think that was ultimately the challenge that sort of, Jeff and the team and Steve and Tim, they overcame was, hey, could you produce shows here in the Midwest? And sure enough, they did it. And, you come by our studio, and there's folks probably cutting right now on shows that are going on HGTV and things. And that's wild. But make no mistake about it, it's a grind. I mean, it's slaying dragons every day. It's getting knocked down. Out of the 10 shows we may pitch, one might go to pilot and stuff. So, as Michael Hayes would say, it's tackle football on concrete.
I did. Perfect segue. You have anticipated my segue so beautifully. And honestly, everybody, if you want to go check out, we'll close it out with websites, etc. Wrestling, my man, professional wrestling. You've been a huge fan forever. I mean, you did some Michael Hayes quote there, who was a freebird, of course. Man, you've hosted some awesome WrestleMania parties. You were one of the few people that go as deep as kind of I do, because I kind of do have a tendency to nerd out on these things. The professional wrestling. What's up?
I know, and it's kind of taboo, and there's always almost like an embarrassment, right? It's like a social. It's getting better that you have to kind of get past with people, right? I think it is when people like understand, and I think you and I are both kind of fascinated by the business end. I can't sit here and say that I don't even watch like weekly content, but I listen to podcasts and stuff because, my God, things like Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard, who are coming to St. Louis during the Money in the Bank weekend. So I got my VIP
which you turned me on to ages ago before they were even on there, the MLW. You hit me with that up ages ago.
It's so good. It's so funny just to hear these road stories of somewhere between, carnies and jocks and things. So it's a sickness, man. That's what my buddy Chad Smart said about it. It's just like, it's a sickness, like you can't get away. But yeah, man, my brother got me into it, right? Watching the old school No Honky Tonk Man, who I later got to work with. And one time was even like negotiating a contract with on a Sunday. Like I just had to like pause and go like, I'm emailing the Honky Tonk Man on a Sunday and things. And I also, when I type in Jim, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's email comes up and things. And it's like,
whom I've had on my program, ladies and gentlemen, and I've hung out and drank beers with. And
man.
He's a great dude. You talk about a great, humble guy. Jesus, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, I can probably talk about it now and things, but we had a client, a bacon client, and there was a whole bacon professional wrestling themed, spot and things like that. And it didn't work out, but it was really cool to be able to direct those guys, Honky Tonk Man, $1 Million Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and like a bacon eating contest and things like that. And someday the footage will see the light of day. I don't know, but
that's crazy.
That was tough. It was tough. We had to send it to like WWE lawyers and stuff because every $1 Million Man didn't know his name or whatnot. So it's just a crazy.
A lot of those
time.
Guys are still under those legends. They're under those legends contracts.
Something the legends deal, and so it was kind of a snafu, and that's always tough, man. But there you go. There's a little secret nugget of the worlds colliding, but I'll never forget getting to work with the Duggan and Honky Tonk Man and $1 Million Man, who couldn't have been nicer and just cooler and just up for anything. And I'll tell you what, talk about talent and voiceovers and stuff, man. Those guys, you give them one direction and they just run with it, cut a promo, pivot, memorize.
Yes.
Dude, they've been making the towns. That's all I can say. It's just insane how good they were on their feet.
Well, I mean, like you said, they've been doing it since Moby Dick was a minnow. Those guys are so tried and true, especially on camera in front of the mic. It's just like that's their bread and butter.
Yep. When we were putting the microphone on Honky Tonk Man, he's like, as I always say, you want to get hired, you got to get wired. And he knew that wasn't his first time. He had a lob drop down his shirt and everything. And
Honky Tonk Man, a.k.a. Wayne Ferris, back in the Memphis days.
Yeah.
If you want to rewind the clock even further. So I know I don't have you for too much longer.
Guys.
Yeah, dude. Right. No, I'm we could nerd out on wrestling forever, but I'm gonna ask you to give me your thoughts on the recent. Of course, you caught the recent Mania. What was your thoughts on the recent Mania? Any highlights? Any lowlights? What stuck out to you?
Well, I was waiting for the Jeff Wilson run it, man, from the back. I don't know where you were at the basement party, We had, Dave Stewart Jr. brought over the chicken wings, like 400 of them. Adam Hackbars made a surprise entrance after kicking out at 2, acting like he wasn't going to come, and then he came over. And there's a picture of me I sent out where nobody was over at like 5:30. The shows are just too darn long. Right? Everybody filtered.
That's
in
what I thought when I saw that picture. I felt bad. I couldn't make it. I
God.
definitely couldn't make it. But I saw that no one. I didn't know if you were fucking with everyone or what was going on. But
No.
I
They
liked
ended up
it.
making it in the end, and there were some newbies there and stuff. And WrestleMania always gets everybody's attention, and it's such an attraction. And but it was, this is old news, but it's definitely a long show. But the spectacle of it was fun, and we just all laughing. And there are points where you're like, why do we watch this
Have you
stuff?
been to a Mania before, sir? Have you been to a WrestleMania before?
Yes, I have. It's actually a dark marriage secret and a bone of contention in my marriage, which will never be revealed unless my wife listens to this podcast. As WrestleMania 22, my buddy Chad.
Where was that at 22?
And, Kevin, yes, who run a podcast, My 123 Cents. Check out Kevin's thing. He's a on-air personality there in Southern Illinois. My 123 Cents is a blog. He's been doing that for years.
Nice.
We went and we did the deluxe fan package to WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, and it was the hotel. It was the bagels, breakfast, and just the whole works, fan access, everything. And she is just like, "How much did you pay for that WrestleMania weekend?" And I will never. I said I will never tell you. I just like you would seriously just give me a Colombian necktie here. I am never going to tell you. But honey, if you're listening, it was $3,000. I'm sorry. Okay, we were young dinks, dual income, no kid. We could get away with that shit.
Young Marks.
Not today.
Young Marks.
Not today. Yes, young Marks. It was a blast, man, and seeing it live. But there's nothing like seeing it in the Corray basement. Everybody brings their stuff. This year had the retro pie going. The retro machine I got because I couldn't find an NES Classic anywhere. Shame on you, Nintendo. So got one of those and was playing a little NES pro wrestling.
I will have
thing.
to say, as an individual who's been to more, I think a couple of the WrestleMania parties in the Corray basement, I will testify how dope the setup is. You can watch the big screen. When I walked in one time, I saw master artist Stephen Walden just creating magic on one side of the room. If you haven't seen Stephen Walden's art, go check his stuff out. And then you have that one setup, that Nintendo, whatever it was, we can like play Sight Bike or pro wrestling. It's quite the time at the WrestleMania party, dude.
The Corray Arena is a tradition that continues. And Kirby, who was over here, we used to have our own wrestling league back in the day. As like many kids, it didn't quite evolve into backyard wrestling, but definitely we have it all on VHS somewhere. Doing Summer Thunder, me in a bathrobe as Ric Flair with braces and pimples, cutting promos, and doing the yes, absolutely. We had the original characters and everything, and we had the 2 mattresses, right? I don't know how you did it in your house.
We did it, bro. We did it.
It went
down.
2 or 1. We went down to 1, which was really dangerous, and the ropes and everything like that. So I think I permanently messed up Kirby's back doing a Sid Justice powerbomb onto a chair or something crazy like that. So didn't quite get into the full Seth Rollins backyard wrestling, but definitely came close. And those tapes do exist of us as the Mega Powers and doing blade jobs, with markers and stuff like that. And somebody Stan Hansen, and we're breaking styrofoam over each other's heads and things like that.
Now, where would you have seen Stan Hansen at? Where would you? Because if you caught up in the WWF time, where would you have seen Stan Hansen?
No, we would have, WCW late at night, and we watched. I remember, first time we'd be having a slumber party and like staying up all night. I just recently caught this on the Observer or something. It was that they used to do something like WCW All Night or something like that, where they just would replay
on
like
the network,
Ricky the Dragon and Ric Flair. Yeah. Well, no, this was they would do this on TBS back in the day, and that must have been what we were seeing. because we would catch that on like somehow it had to be a WCW Saturday night and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we got the tail end of some Stan Hansen stuff that we would imitate, and Flying Brian Pillman and Sting and things like that. We put the face markers on as the Ultimate Warrior. We had our tournament, our fantasy tournament where we had the Warrior and Flair, and went all the way to a awkward match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and our Kirby as Hulk Hogan. So they didn't work together well, and our friend Steve did not like being slammed around and things, whereas Kirby and I were a little. We worked snug. We were working New Japan style, right? We were strong style, man.
Well, as a young man who was a big fan of Magnum TA, I was a big fan of the United States Heavyweight title. Let me tell you what, there was nothing, and I wish I still had it to this day, because I created one of the sickest title belts out of, I think it was like cardboard, athletic tape, aluminum foil, magic marker. But I mean, that thing shined like a new dime, and it was beautiful. I wish I still had it.
That's awesome, man. We reused ours from seeing it at the what was the arena down here?
The Keel.
Not the Keel. Yeah,
the Chase.
I feel like it was something else.
No, never usually.
No, maybe it was the Keel or something where we begged Kirby's sister's husband to drive us there. We would buy
South Broadway Athletic Club.
No, I mean this was a WWF event at the time, so maybe it was the Keel. I guess so, and it would have been Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus the Macho Man around the Scary Sherry times and things like that. So
double
that was our first
RIPs
live
there.
Event.
Two out of the three there are no longer with us.
I know, right? It's pretty, you hear Pritchard talk about that on his podcast. But yeah, then we saw, I think it was WrestleFest or something, and they had Slaughter and Hogan at Busch Stadium with Macho Man as the special guest referee and things. So it's funny in business finding the folks that are, closet wrestling fans and things, and, they'll come on over here. There's you look at the basement and it was like, man, there's, the leader of Lion Forge Comics, there's the founder of Scorch Agency and stuff.
Right.
It becomes a thing that just brings us all together, and we got the betting pool and stuff going. So, I thought it was long, but I thought the best suggestion of the night was our buddy Joe Farmer, who said after Roman Reigns beats The Undertaker, he should take up the moniker of The Undertaker, because he kind of looks like him, right?
No.
They look like each other. Can you imagine that in a Zorro way? You
talk about
if we were in Mexico, that's how it would have went down, dude. He would have picked up those gloves from the ring and been like, the next night on Raw, he's The Undertaker.
No, sir. That would have been gimmick infringement. That would have got Roman Reigns hung like straight in the freaking citrus bowl or whatever that was. Like that. That would not have been pretty, bro. That would not have been pretty.
Hey,
you don't touch that legacy.
What's best for business, man? What's best for business?
Hey, controversy creates cash, man, like my man Eric Bischoff said. Let me tell you what.
So, yes, it's so many. What do you think of the current state of wrestling? Because I'll be honest, I'm thinking about just canceling my subscription to the WWE Network just because, this bullying stuff has got to stop, man. The Mauro Ranallo type stuff and the whole JBL situation.
Hey, let me tell you what. Man. As an individual who actually, I'm pretty cool. I know Boss Rutan. Boss Rutan was on my show. Boss Rutan is not pleased with these rumors and these accusations to JBL. Those guys don't need to see each other anytime soon because, Boss Rutan has Mauro Ranallo's back like a mug because, publicly, he deals with some, bipolar, some issues, with his depression, etc. And JBL did not help with that. And,
here's my thing. It's like you're a publicly traded company. You got to start acting like it at some point. And people got to be accountable for these things. So I think the way fans can vote is vote with your wallet.
Exactly.
Join me in hashtag cancelmania and let's, put that thing on pause until they resolve this stuff and we get an apology or something. And just that I know you're never going to change everything about it, but it really is kind of just I don't know. There's certain moments, right, where, you get kind of ashamed to be a wrestling fan and it's stuff like that. And you hear about stuff like that and it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, not even just that, man. You hear, not to get too super geeked out on wrestling and the inside baseball, but, one of the first times Alberto Del Rio left was because, certain comments were, racist comments or whatever were made and he wound up slapping the shit out of somebody or whatever. But it's like the inside baseball or whatever, the behind the scenes stuff on WWE has always been a little shady. But yeah, it's as established as Ranallo is, like that guy used to announce Pride. Like that guy is so tried and true. JBL,
he's so good.
He is. He's a freaking amazing
pay-per-views. Yeah, he just put the emotion in it and the storytelling, and just I'm more into the match because he's calling. I just thought he was the best in years. It's good to see JR back in the mix and everything. But
that was so
man,
awesome.
I got to tell you, I'm on the verge of it. I hit my cancel subscription last night, and the little hey, we'll give you 1 month free and stuff. I just feel like that's the way fans can speak is by canceling their WWE
through the dollars.
subscriptions.
No, and I always, for real, absolutely. That's why you say even in the show I do with the Conspiracy Farm with Pat Miletich, we got to vote with our dollars. But what were your? I mean, I had zero anticipation for this last WrestleMania, and I was sort of pleasantly surprised. That doesn't say very much, but I dug it. What are your thoughts on this last WrestleMania?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you as far as just overall, and I almost need to go back and watch certain stuff because when you watch it in a big crowd, right, I didn't pick up, just a lot on like the Goldberg, Lesnar side, or just, go back and watch I think my Apple TV kept like cooking out all over this thing, and we'd have to like stream it from the computer, so there was just playback issues and things. So, the Triple H Rollins match and things. So yeah, super long. I love the suggestion of maybe doing 2 nights of WrestleMania. It's kind of interesting. Imagine what that would have looked like to have, Cena, Taker on one show maybe, and then you save your Goldberg and Lesnar on another show. And it's interesting. I know they did it in WrestleMania 2. They had the 2 different shows and stuff.
But that was simultaneous. As you said that, I'm thinking. Was true. But that was simultaneous. As you're playing that out, as you're talking about that, I'm like, would they come? In wrestling and the juice of the moment, like it's an emotional ride. You go from your beginning match to you blow the roof off to do that 2 days in a row.
Right.
I mean, it's tough. It's interesting concept.
Yeah.
But it is long.
I don't know.
It is long.
We all agree it's so long.
The whole weekend is long now. Not only is Mania long, they've turned it into the whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's quite. You gotta get your meth on or something before you go to these things. You gotta have the energy for it. I'm not advocating
meth. No, it sounds
like
a blast to go there. No, right? But there was like 103, 168 other events and things. So it seems good for the industry as a whole. I just even being a fan, and I don't think I can watch that much. I would rather see listen more to Wrestling Observer and just the business of it. I could listen to Dave Meltzer talk all day.
All day, dude. I know.
Fascinating.
I know.
I know what a guy. It's so fascinating things. And then certainly the Pritchard podcast and such. And I'm going to go VIP when they're here in St. Louis to meet him. I never thought, brother love. I mean, it's just such a fascinating glimpse into the inside of that the big wheel.
Sure.
As Mr. McMahon says, the big wheel that keeps on turning. So it's good, man. But I think we are in that lull, right? And I've been enjoying the New Japan stuff and finding that out.
Hardy Boys,
kind of just different
what do you
flavors.
Think of that? Hardy Boys coming in just doing that, like that was crazy. Like I thought Enzo and Kaz were gonna finally get a little gold. Come to find out, the Hardy Boys just bum rush. What are your thoughts on that? It's whatever. What are your thoughts?
What 24 hours, man? Those guys, I mean, can you name like a 24-hour period where less than 24 hour you're on another company's pay-per-view in a title match? And
Lex Luger, baby. Well, not in a title match, but the whole Lex Luger,
right?
That happened.
Right.
Nitro.
Good for them. It just shows the creativity. If I was TNA, man, and the Hardys are right there, I would hand Matt the book and say, you're doing something fresh. You're doing something interesting. Here you go, brother. Like, run with it. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? Now we suddenly have this, like, I don't even watch any of it, but like diet TNA from circa glory years of 2003. Is that what we're trying to do? Like, no disrespect to all the people up there working, but like, man, how are you differentiating yourself? Like, it seemed like they were onto something, like, get that fresh voice in. It just seems like for true progress, like, the stars have to align. So it's so hard for, like, a Steve Austin or something to come along. It's almost like they have to be up against the ropes and desperate for, a situation. As I told the group in the basement, and I just feel like I'd love to hear a WWE stockholder, hold somebody accountable for like, we are in a golden age of television. Television writing has never been better. Every creative out there wants to work in television now. And you think about what were the movies of the millennial, like what were the movies of the 2000s? Like name the movie that was like, really represents, the decade of the noughts, whatnot. And it's hard to, you kind of look back and you say, well, it's The Sopranos. It's like the TV started coming on board. So here we are in this like golden age of television. Writing has never been better. These shows have never been better, What in the hell? Like here we have the original soap opera, good and evil, easy to understand. You can any language and things like that. Why is the writing and just the overall storytelling not up to speed? And I mean, I think we all know it's one creative director at the end of the day. But the fact is, who's the Vince Gilligan of pro wrestling that's going to come in there, tell a story? And I know you got to deal with injuries, and it's easy for two guys in their basement, literally, to be talking about this and saying it. But like, my God, I mean, just the storytelling and just what happened to patience and brewing something up and the simple stuff does work, whether it's a Braun Strowman or something. Like sometimes it is. I don't know. I just feel like the fans get exhausted with the start and stop and this character and that character, and they could do something about it and make it really, really intriguing. And when they do, it does work, but they got to have that slow simmer again and whatever. I mean, that's what a lot of folks say. But I just feel like, where's the Breaking Bad arc of wrestling here? Maybe that's too much to ask for, but I feel like you can lay out these players and put on a real, Greek tragedy in a lot of ways. But I don't know, man. That's just armchair booking. That's just two guys.
Well, no,
on
and
a
you're
podcast.
absolutely right. And I mean, it's cool that they had like an NXT to kind of bring in some new blood. But at the end of the day, those, and I've talked about, from Herb Simmons to any number of people who know real wrestling. Everything anymore is about these high spots. Let me get my shit in, as opposed to kind of basic, slow it down, the psychology of wrestling. Not to say that, you have to go Johnny Valentine, even though I'm a huge fan of Johnny Valentine. You don't want to hold a headlock for 30 minutes in the ring, but the psychological aspect has kind of been lost. So I would like to see that implemented a little bit more myself.
Yeah, now that Lucha Underground's on Netflix, I was just fascinated by the backstage segments. I've never been a fan of like edited wrestling action. It something feels weird about it, when they're cutting to it and cutting around. Like there's an energy that's lost. That MTV League or whatever that was on for a while. It's a little weird, but I was totally fascinated by the
shoot it so
cinematic
well.
look.
It's
shot
the
cinematic
so well.
stuff. It's like a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to see like we've always wanted to do like a behind the scenes wrestling cinema thing. I mean, I guess The Wrestler did that the best, and it kind of showed how people are fascinated. The Mickey Rourke, Aronofsky film and whatnot. But do something like that where it's I think that would be a fascinating. Like I guess they're doing the Glow series, and we'll see what's going on with that. But
the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they're doing a series for Netflix. So
I heard they were coming back. Holy shit! I heard they were coming back. You need we need to link up and go check out the National Wrestling League. A big shout out to my boy Major Bison and all the boys over at the NWL. We need to go check that show out, dude. You would really, really dig that, man. When I walked in there with a friend of mine, he used to go to wrestling at the Chase shows. He even was like, man, I got a real wrestling at the Chase feel here. Like they're onto something, man. And you should definitely go check them out.
That's what I've heard. I know. Yeah, I just been talking with Patrigo from the Rizzuto show there. He's a big wrestling fan. I think he's even started some podcast stuff or has been talking and everything. Yeah. So and I think Rizzuto does either stuff with them or the Broadway or I've seen the ads at the Blues games and such.
They're everywhere, man. Their ads are over in Scott Trade. Cool. I had Major Bison on last week. I mean, they're really. I'm a big fan of what they're trying to do, dude. So as a fan of the old school stuff, man, you would definitely want to go check it out, my man.
Yeah, and there's like folks from The Office and things that talk about it. So it seems like with the younger crowd, even that it's kind of like everybody's in on it, the irony, but that's just kind of part of the show of it. So there you go. The St. Louis wrestling tradition continues.
And that's what I told him, man. No, and like I said, Herb Simmons, I just had on no better place to keep the tradition alive than St. Louis, dude. This used to be the head of the NWA, Sam Muchnick. Like this used to be the spot. So there's no better spot to really kind of not necessarily rejuvenate, but create a nice little promotion that give some homage to the old school, but have some modern new elements as well.
See, these folks outside the arch coverage zone are understanding a little bit why we love this town, from our, Blues to the Cardinals. LA, you can keep the Rams, that's fine, to, the tradition of wrestling, to Voltron, Defender of the Universe, Coolfire. My goodness. What is going on? Maybe we ought to show up in the Voltron costume to the wrestling events, get a little Chikara on them there.
Which you are not adverse to. I've showed up to a mini party, and this gentleman has been in full Voltron regalia, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, spoiler alert. There you go. That's the gobbledygooker. It's just, that thing still gets some play from time to time. It's awesome. You get into it, and everybody loves you. Then you get out of it, and you're kind of like Tony Stark without the Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I was the guy in the Voltron suit. No, nobody cares. They just want the guy in the Voltron suit. So it is what it is, man. Well, thank you for having me on here.
No, thank you, my friend.
It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Chopping it up, and maybe I can get you in the basement for SummerSlam if I renew this subscription.
No, dude, you throw the best wrestling parties, and it's always good to link up with like wrestling minds, because I just don't find them quite like I used to, bro. So, Mr. Jeremy Corray, thank you so much, Vice President of Digital Entertainment at Coolfire Studios. Do you have any social media, anything you want to shout out, websites, etc.?
Sure. Well, at Jeremy Corray on Twitter, I got to get definitely more active on there, but you'll be seeing some stuff from us. You can go look up the Woo Toys Facebook page. We've been discovering these strange commercials from toy lines from back in the 80s from a mysterious company, Woo Toys. I think we're going to see some more. We've uncovered a couple more tapes that we're going to share of this. I don't know what it was. It's like this coked up toy company releasing these strange toys. So that could be something to check out. So there you go. Yeah, man, that's about it. I just hope they check out more of your show and share and like and keep growing, man.
Well, Jeremy, thank you once again, my friend, for taking the time. It has been my pleasure. And Mr. Jeremy Corray, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, go follow up with him with all the social networking stuff. It has been my pleasure, my friend. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There will be more. Peace.